All right. Welcome, welcome. Happy Monday, everyone. All right. For those who do not have a link to the agenda document, the meeting notes, I'll drop that in the chat and pin it. Please feel free to add yourself to the attendees list. And as well as for sake of discussion, if you have agenda items you'd like to talk through, questions, concerns, really anything is fair game as long as it's Lula compliance, OSCAL related in some way, shape, or form. And we can more than address that as a group, kind of open up the floor to questions. Otherwise, we usually have some agenda items to work through. And today is mainly kind of following up on what we mentioned from last week. So welcome everyone, January 13th, 2025, Lula community meeting. This session is being recorded so that it can be uploaded to YouTube for others to watch asynchronously or as they have time. And with that, I think that if anybody does have anything, please feel free to go and update the document. Otherwise, the real item that we wanted to address today is just continuing to revisit roadmap and establish more context, ensure people are aware of, what are we looking at trying to accomplish within this quarter, next quarter, in particular, as far as establishing maybe more concrete vision. Outside of that, after that, even Q2 is still tends to be a little bit flexible as far as what does that statement of work look like and how do things evolve. But outside of that, I think we want to set ourselves up well with having an idea of what kind of things should we be tackling sooner, with what kind of things should we be keeping on our radar so that they don't drop off. And so as far as that goes, what this looks like is just a lot of discussion, hopefully informed by both the Lula team internally, but also from everybody within the community that would like to, add some piece of evidence or even just an opinion about something that would be nice to have from the Lula ecosystem. So, variety of things. I think we're still working on decomposing these intent, which I should put somewhere in here, is to get this codified in the repository once we kind of have a draft. And so once that draft is available, open it up for comments and, kind of iteration and refinement. But outside of that, work to ensure that if we've ideated on an interesting problem space, hey, we want to continue to do something with additional domains. Maybe somebody has ideas for an additional domain that we'd like to go tackle. One, seeing if it falls on the roadmap, which is great. Two, just also ensuring that we get things into our backlog. We don't want to lose these. We want to be able to mark them accordingly and say, yes, I think this is a great idea. Maybe it doesn't fit into the current roadmap, but it is something that we do want to stay aware of, most of all. Does anybody have any comments, questions, concerns currently about the intent of putting the roadmap out and trying to get some feedback? Awesome. None heard. From there, I think really this is pretty brief as far as things go, because again, so just a lot of ideation currently, but we want to get something that people can look at, they can dissect, decompose, and understand more. And so we've been pulling these items from our backlog, kind of looking at milestones and other pieces of the issues being tracked, and kind of started to find areas where we want to, take these, decompose them into multiple things if they're really big and broad, or find ways with which we can, I don't know, make the intent of the deliverable more organic and understandable. So some of these, as we work through them, I think are more obvious to the Lula problem statement, like, hey, all-scale model coverage. Lula supports doing something, operating on a model or multiple of the models in some way, shape, or form across catalog, profile, component definition, SSP, assessment results. There are still gaps among all of those that we should address and fill in. We should try to figure out if there's optimizations to make in there to make the data and the source of truth mechanism that Lula uses across those models more optimized, but then also try to address the models that we're still missing. So assessment plan and POEM in particular, want to hit those, make sure that we can generate them. And so you can do kind of the full RMF lifecycle across all of the OSCA artifacts. I think that's a core one too. So we want to keep that going. That was kind of something we were iterating on last year, and quickly began to understand how broad that statement of work is, how big it is. So we'll be pushing on that, pushing on some variety of other concepts, like enhancing the API updates was something that we were hitting at the end of last year. And I think we've identified a couple more areas of things we want to update, and then moving across into other things that really just help with I'd say the broader utilization piece. How do we package and compose things together? How do we report on things in a way that's meaningful, that gives you data about kind of the state of your risk management posture, given the models that you have created thus far or continue to create, and then translation being an area where it could be interesting to figure out a good workflow process pattern, if you will, for how do we transform these OSCAL artifacts into something that is more organic to the mission. If you're using EMAS, if you're using another GRC solution that maybe doesn't support OSCAL yet, how could we try to meet people and missions and information assurance personnel where they are? Very much important to us. Console, continuing to ensure that stays or comes to parity with the CLI, and using it to, I think, enhance some more of the user experience workflows. And then Lula as a library, Lula the CLI, that's something that the Lula team has focused on for scope. For those who are unaware, we are very aware that we could do a lot of things automated and continuously, and all of the above. There's lots of ideas out there. I think there's something to be said for bounding our scope around the CLI use cases for right now, and saying, hey, let's focus on ensuring that we've built this underlying foundation to be very, concrete and fundamental, and all the fundamentals are covered. From there, we can start to experiment with more, I'd say, Lula ecosystem facing projects, something continuously, a controller, an operator, et cetera, running in your cluster, and doing something for compliance and reporting on it continuously. And we've seen some partners and people coming in from the community that are instrumenting Lula as a library for this purpose. Grafana dashboards and other ways to interface with getting that information visible, which is very exciting. And so there's something to be said there about just enhancing the library, making it more accessible for consumption in that way. Outside of that, I think, again, there's the different additional things that we're going to toss out for review. Idea would definitely be getting a draft out there with the things that I think we want to chase after for Q1, Q2, and then also annotating like other things that are on the radar, but maybe not so much a core focus for the team and could be available for others in the community to pick up and work if they are so interested. Any questions on that one?
Are the examples you were just describing people from the community using, like doing Grafana dashboards and throwing Lula out there into their clusters to watch things and publish data back to a dashboard? Is that stuff publicly available to look at? Do you know?
That's a great question. I believe so. And in particular, I always try to be careful with ensuring that I'm not sharing something I shouldn't share. But I believe this is more public knowledge. Tetrate, who do a lot with the service mesh space, were submitting some PRs back to Lula, which was awesome. And they were instrumenting Lula for purposes of an Istio controller, kind of just focuses on the Istio deployment, not so much broader compliance across everything, but they do have a Istio OSCAL controller that allows for kind of focusing in on the Istio compliance controls and reporting on them continuously by running periodic checks every minute, I believe. And that is over on Repo 1. Awesome. Continue a trend that I've had for trying to ensure that I follow up on the things that I say I'm going to do. Shout out to Kristen for reminding me of doing this last week. Is I want to try to evolve this community meeting to also share some more just like in progress working updates from what the team is working on, maybe from a milestone view, or I think there's a variety of things we can do. And so I think I'm going to keep iterating on trying to figure out what that looks like. But I would love to get more of the members of like even just the Lula team involved in this. And if somebody else is working issues from like the backlog and issues and whatnot, be able to provide a time for people to express, hey, I'm working on this. Here's questions or concerns I have. Here's things that we're thinking about. So definitely want to try to get other people involved in what this looks like. So I will document that here in such a way that I am going to have to address it next week in some way. Wonderful. Any other comments, concerns, questions that we can answer for anybody? All right. None heard. I think for notwithstanding the rest of the week, we'll be kind of working towards, I think we've been working towards a lot of higher level design concepts and proposals for various things, which means less things going into the next release. We'll be looking at the next release to see what's going to go into that, which is technically slotted for this Friday. If anybody has anything that they want to additionally discuss or call out for just asynchronous discussion, please use the Lula-dev Slack channel. Otherwise, we will see you all next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good week.